go to our next featured reader, and that is Dr. Luisa A. Igloria. She is a Virginia Poet Laureate Emerita, so she was from 2020 to 2022, so Maddie, you might want to chat with her. She's the author of 14 books of poetry and 5 chapbooks, probably more, but that's my last count. She was the lead editor of Dear Human at the Edge of Time, Poems on Climate Change in the U.S. with Aileen, Cassinetto, and Jeremy S. Hoffman, which was published last year and is a wonderful book. She also received one of 23 Poet Laureate recipients of the 2021 Fellowship from the Academy of American Poets, and the recipient of unbelievable number of awards for her poetry. She is currently the Luisa A. Jaffe Professor of Creative Writing and English at Old Dominion University, and from 2009 to 2015 directed the MFA Creative Writing Program at ODU. She also teaches for the nonprofit Muse Writers Center that many of us are familiar with, and serves on its board. So Luisa, please come and reveal.
Thank you so much, Kathleen, and it's such a pleasure to be here among poet friends, old and new. And I'm so happy to meet another poet protector of the land. I was also invited to be part of the Writing the Land project, like David and Joanna.
I have copies here.
Yeah. And I will be reading from my latest book, Call Bearer, from Black Lawrence Press, which won their Immigrant Writing Series prize. There are copies over there. There's also a reading and study guide, which I collaborated on with our youngest daughter, and they're hand-bound, so take a look, please. But I will open with a poem from my daily writing practice. As some of you know, I have been writing at least a poem a day for the last 14 years as of November 20. And it's just I think I realized that poetry is just my favorite way to process information. The daily news that the world gives me, that sifts through me, I go to poetry, and that's how I work through the questions. So this is my November 26th poem. It's called Imminent. I read in the news that the supervolcano in the Phlegrean fields near Naples is sputtering dangerously awake. It's not even melodrama. A massive eruption would plunge the whole world into a global winter that would mean game over. In Dante's Inferno, hell is a series of 9 concentric circles descending into the bowels of the earth. Lucifer's trapped in the deepest one, an ice pit, no warmth, no sun. The Roman poet Virgil is Dante's psychopomp, a kind of usher, a conductor of souls into the afterlife. At first I thought they entered this realm by boat, through the crater lake of a volcano. But when I reviewed the passage at the start of his journey, Dante is lost in a dark wood. Then he and his guide enter the vestibule of hell, before Karen picks them up in his ferry. I can appreciate these little touches, how even as he must have felt his world, like ours, to be falling apart, vestibule conveys a semblance of order, keeps some of the horrors at bay. But it's also a reminder, so much evil is running around right now, dressed in tuxedos and driving expensive electric cars, preaching uncivility as virtue, burning books. No one knows what's going to happen, but even if it means climbing over Satan's frozen rump and genitalia with Dante and Virgil, I want to finish the course, ascend the last hill, and come out of this doomscape back into the light. A little slowly because for some reason my reading the poem on my phone, it won't tilt on into landscape mode, and that was a little bit annoying. But so then, I'm reading from Pallbearer, the title poem, and that's on page 54. Okay, so the title of the book, which is also the poem's title, which I'm reading now, Pallbearer. When the newborn emerges with a caul, part of the amniotic sac over its head, so the midwife or doctor works to quickly free the child so as not to endanger its breathing. And so I feel like this is also a great metaphor for people who live in the diaspora, people who are immigrant writers like myself. I see it as a metaphor, that veiled interval of transition from one state to the other. And in some cultures, the caul is also considered talismanic, like maybe the child is thought to be gifted with second sight almost. In any case, I was also riveted by the yucca flower, learning about how they have a relationship of mutuality, symbiosis, with the yucca moth, which lays its eggs there and provides the only food for the yucca moth's babies. So mutuality and trying to live together in a world which is full of sharp things, I think is what I was thinking of. Pallbearer, pheasant and nuthatch, 5-petaled flower, emerald feather suspended in veils. We don't know how long the world can hold such specimens of tenderness, how far the glacial drifts can ferry such tunes, immaculate, before they themselves turn into ghosts. Everything writhes before the dream discards what it calculates for reduction. And yet the yucca moth delivers its eggs inside the flower, even as leaves sharpen their bayonet points. At dusk, we scan the horizon for anchors and tents. We lean into the wind, hungry for the brass tinkle of hawk bells and the trance-like drone of Hegelum. If we split these reeds down their length, how many of us can ride out the coming flood before sunlight returns or we've softened into moss? And a couple more, thank you. A poem called One or the Other. I suppose one could grow too fond of one's sorrows. Trouble is, there's always someone reminding me about the coin with two faces, the violent wind that sweeps everything out of your house so the good can take up residence. Supposedly, there's no way we could know joy without its sulking sister, without its melancholic brother, its malcontent stepmother. And certain toxic plants have common lookalikes, poison instead of water hemlock, pods of the castor bean, cracked seeds from the red rosary pea. Some herbs are tender and good to eat. Others itch your throat with fuzz or leave their bitter flavor in your mouth. The seal of a kiss that subtly changes what faith you had in a world benevolent and wildly sweet all the way through, so it whets your taste for more. Thank you. I'll finish with two more short poems, and I want to preface this one, which is called Natural History of the Mole in the Outer Corner of Your Left Eye. I grew up in the Philippines. I moved to the US when I was 30. And there are all these superstitions. So I have a mole. I do actually have a mole on the outer corner of my left eye. And you'll see that the poem addresses that, because they say things like, oh, that means you're going to be crying all your life. You will have such a sad life. Poor thing. So natural, and I love poetry because it gives you a different way to frame the picture, right? Natural history of the mole in the outer corner of your left eye. Your body a map, Your body part of some kind of constellation. Your 10 pearly knuckles at birth, the milk teeth that burst through a tender pink horizon. Your body pushing through a gate no one calls the eye of a needle. You could thread yards of fine silk through that implement for stitching. None finer than the thread of you. Your body a flood of asterisks, a banner of destinations. Tiny points scatter across its plains, confusing only to errant travelers. Your body covers the lie. Something in the path of tears only beckons more tears. Your body makes confetti. And I'll read the final short poem from Paul Bear. It's the very last one. It's called Outrigger, which is a kind of, I guess it's a kind of canoe, kind of boat. And there's a lot of those in the Philippines also. The Tagalog or Filipino name for it is bangka. Outrigger. I know every robe of light is edged with a hem of dark stitching, and the sea is always racing and lowering its curtains. Once when I put my arms around you, I couldn't hear the crash of waves. These days are loud, though. The billow of wind, the sermons of thunder, the undercurrent of all nostalgias turning into something we only think we understand. O trigger releasing a spring, tensing a mechanism, seething with too much feeling. O outrigger, I am an island and you are an island and everyone else is an island and we could be an archipelago. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Luisa. You're amazing.